A major reason you're not getting your prayers answered is because you're not standing on the promises of God. Now let me take you to the word. In Romans chapter 4, verses 20 and 21, it says this concerning Abraham. No unbelief made him waver concerning the promise of God, but he grew strong in his faith as he gave glory to God, fully convinced that God was able to do what he had promised. No unbelief made Abraham waver concerning the promise of God. As a matter of fact, do you know what the promises of God are? It's very important that when you're praying, you bring God his word because God is a man of his word. One of the biggest things that will cause you not to get your prayers answered is when you start praying things that don't align with the will of God. You need to find scriptures and verses that promise you the things that you believe in God for. And then in verse 21, it says Abraham was fully convinced that God was able to do what he had promised. Once you bring God his word, you must become fully convinced that God is able to fulfill that word. And guess what? God doesn't always operate on our timeline. So just because the prayer didn't get answered in a day or in a week or even a year doesn't mean the prayer is not answered. But you must stand on his promise. It took Abraham 25 years before Isaac was born. So I think Abraham knows a thing or two about what it means to stand on the promise of God. And because Abraham refused to waver, because he refused to give in to unbelief, he got to see the fulfillment of that promise. So whatever you're praying for, you must stand to see it through to completion. Yes, there may be things that come against you that makes it seem like that prayer is not getting answered, but know that God is a man of his word. He will fulfill that promise if you stand on it. But if you lose faith, if you stop believing for the promise, if you stop praying, if you stop worshiping God, stop thanking God for what you're believing him for, you won't get to see the fulfillment of that promise in your life. Remember this, both faith and doubt are belief. Faith is just belief in the desired outcome, and doubt is just belief in the undesired outcome. So which will you choose to have?